Sometimes it might rain, sometimes it might snow. Sometimes you might cry, be sad, you know. What that's shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man. Shades of a man. Sometimes you might stop, sometimes you might go. You might make mistakes, but that's just how you grow. Shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man. Shades of a man.
Welcome to another episode of the Shades of a Man podcast. I'm Joaquin Keem Hauser, your host. Right there is the producer, the best man I know, Liam. Say what's up, Liam.
What's up?
Say your last name because I don't want to mess it up.
Saranich.
Yeah, Saranich. I can't even say it. And I know the brother. And then over on the other side, we have the beautiful Denise Mateo. Say hello, Denise.
Hello. And it's Denisha.
Oh, Denisha. Oh, shoot. Look at that. Like, I'm looking at the name, and I don't even know how I said that. Because I'm trying to read it instead of saying it.
It's okay. She corrected me in the second episode of my show. So the first
All right.
episode, I was completely wrong. So.
It's like you can't put words in front of me and expect me to do it. Like, because I'm just going to read them phonetically, and it'll be better. Like, when people... don't try to read my name phonetically because it'll be a mess. But I struggle with that. But today's episode is Forced Love When Love Becomes a Cage. And today we're going to enter the shadows. The type of love that doesn't nurture but controls, that doesn't build but breaks. And I'm going to start by reading a poem. Now, as you guys know, if you've been following the show, I've only memorized two poems in my entire life. So I'm going to read off the paper. But I'm going to read this poem, and then we're going to start talking about like relationships and how relationships go bad and what we could do as people to recover and what we have done to recover. All right. This poem is called Forced Love. The type of love that hurts in many ways. The threats keep fear on the mind. Far from blind domestic crime. Controlled in every which way. No freedom, no time with friends. Smiles become pretend. Wishes are that your partner's life will end. Sleeping with tears dripping on the sheets. Scared to be alone. Scared to be home. Scared 'cause they called you and you didn't pick up the phone. Happiness is just a dream out of reach. You can do no right. You can't sleep at night. Every day is just another fight. What happened to real love when it was new and fun? Where did it run? Where did this anger come from? You led me to the water and I drank. Then you poisoned me with deception. Daily hugs with no affection. Scorned me physically and mentally with abuse. And I thought you were my protection. So that's the poem. And what comes to mind when you hear that poem?
My last relationship.
Dang. So you say I'm talking about you? I wrote that about my relationship.
Sorry.
And I was in not my
there
last
were times
relationship.
you wish, I laughed because you said times you wish they were dead and things like that. There was, we're only humans, so there were times when you feel certain things, you just don't say it out loud. The hurt, the pain they caused you. I don't want to say that I ever wish that he was dead or anything like that, but I wish he was like away from me. That's you had certain feelings, certain things you said in that resonated. So
I wrote that from my perspective. So I'm gonna introduce you to me and Denise, so you know. So I met Denise a few months ago, and we became came to my gym, and she became a member of my gym and my personal training client. And she invited me to a when she was speaking about domestic violence. And so I had to let the cat out the bag, and I was like, hey, about 20 some odd more than that years ago, I got arrested for domestic violence, and we just started. I wanted to be honest, and I was like, I always felt like, you know, I wanted to be in a place where I could help men recover from domestic violence. So I went to see her speak, and it was amazing. Like, just, and I felt like bad. Like I was in the room, like listening to her speak, and like, I felt bad, and I left, and I like called my then girlfriend, not then fiance, wife slash um then, but I mean not anymore, but to like apologize for things I didn't even do yet, right? Because that's how much I was impacted by um what I had heard that night. So I appreciate you for inviting me there, and that's why you're on this show today, because domestic violence is real. I think more people go through it than they know because it's not always physical.
Right.
It's a lot of verbal, a lot of control, sometimes you don't even know like that you're in an abusive relationship until like years down the line.
Yes.
So we're gonna dig into
It,
that.
yeah, no, it was crazy. I actually got a lot of good feedback from that event. We're actually doing a couple more coming up, but some of the feedback I got were from other men telling me how they never realized like how some of the things they said or did, uh, until that event, it could have really affected the relationship with their wives in a certain type of way. So they would actually, you weren't the first person to tell me that you went home and apologized. There was quite a few that actually went back home and apologized to their significant other after seeing the event. But you know what? That's the purpose of those events, right? To bring awareness and to let people know the signs and the things. Because sometimes people don't even realize what they're doing. Um, some people, right? There's people who do it and they're just not nice people, but so, but yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's like a cycle that is taught and continues. And I remember personally being in the cycle. And I remember personally like being told and understanding never to like put your hands on a woman. But that's not enough
Right.
for like you just can't tell somebody don't never put your hands on a woman, because there's so much stuff that happens in between that time that could change how you think. Because if you're putting yourself in negative situations, allowing someone to talk down to you, like if you have no control over your anger, like there's so many steps that lead. Like it wasn't as easy as I thought it was. Oh, I'm never gonna hit a woman, right? And then I found myself. I remember before I ever physically ever put my hands on my son's mother, right? Several times. Yo, if you do, yo, you like I was threatening her. Like you keep doing that to me, yo, one day. Like so I was getting amped and getting like based on how I felt I was treated. And I think some of the signs are that as a man, we also got to know, wait up, this is not a good situation for me. If this person is getting me this angry, I need to step back because maybe they're not from me, and maybe I need to check myself. Like, why am I letting somebody else control my emotions? Like I'm a TV and they have more control, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna put you on Jerry Springer today. Boom. You know what I mean?
Right.
What you
Like, what's
think?
the root of the problem? What's the root of the problem? Sometimes just taking accountability for your actions. Um, it also happens to guys. I'm gonna put that out there really quickly. It goes both ways. It happens to both females and men. Okay, so I know quite a few men who have actually gone through domestic violence, and it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't always have to be physical, right? Um, I just think people need healing. People need counseling. People need to be more aware that it's okay to go to counseling and get some healing and talk to somebody. Because I don't think people do that enough. I also find that with a lot of these cases, that a lot of people usually it's because they've gone through some sort of trauma in the past. Usually, it goes both ways, even the abuser and the abuse. Sometimes the abuser is somebody who's gone through it, who's seen their parents do it, or who's gone through some really sort of trauma or who has some type of mental health. Sometimes drugs play a part in that. So there's so many different things that can cause a person to act that way. Um, and then usually what I've seen is the people that have gone through it are either one, people who don't even realize they're going through it because they've never gone through it, they've never seen any signs, don't know what to look for when it's happening to them. Because I've heard that quite a bit. But I've also seen people who just have grown up with abuse themselves in their homes or some type of abuse or have gone through something. So when they're going through the abuse, it doesn't feel like it's as bad.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely. I grew up in a very toxic environment, and although like I was abused as well in my relationship, but now in retrospect, then I looked at it very differently. Now I look at it as like I I should have walked away. Like you can never allow anyone to put their hands on you, to spit at you, to call you names and stay because it's only gonna get worse. Like I don't think there's no backtracking out of that. And so um and it doesn't, if you call me a name and I call you a name, it doesn't justify you calling me a name, doesn't justify me calling you a name. And that's how I used to play everything. I would
Well,
have
see,
a
that's how
reason
you
why
gotta stop it. You gotta stop that. You can't be
yeah.
calling people names in a relationship. You're not supposed to. So in a relationship, it's silly when you. I mean, when you guys are in a relationship and things like that, I can see somebody, hey, honey, or you so silly, or little names. But when you call somebody out their name, even in a joking way, like that just opens up a door for, okay, I did it this way. Now next time, if I get pissed off, I'm gonna say it. Like once you talk, it's just not acceptable, and you have to like from the very beginning have those boundaries with each other that you're not disrespecting each other in any type of way. Because that just starts. That's how it starts. It could be one little disrespect, then next thing you know, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger because you tolerate it. So I think that in a relationship, you shouldn't call anybody out their name ever, unless
Oh,
you're
I
in a loving
100%.
way.
100% agree. I'm going back to when I was 24 years old. I'm 52 now, and how the relationship evolved into a very toxic relationship was. It started there. It started. It didn't start like it started with the name calling. It started with accepting things that I wouldn't accept today, and and I think that's where it begins. Like the root of the problem. I think people look at the physical part, but the physical part is never the root. That's what happens. Like you can't fix a man or a woman in a domestic situation by addressing the hitting part if you don't address all the steps before. That's what I was trying to open up, if that makes sense to you.
It does. It does, because usually it starts slow, like telling you what to do, taking control of your phone, seeing who you're talking to, where are you going, little things like that. Then they start taking control of your social media, or then you start deleting social media just to not have to argue or have any issues or having somebody go through your phone. Um,
Mm,
there's so many ways that it starts prior before it gets physical. So yes,
excellent. So so Denise, oh, I said it again. See, I can't look at the name. Erase that name. So I keep looking at it and then trying to say the name. Denasia. So as a man, I can say to you truly through our friendship that I love you. And I'm very comfortable by saying that as I love you as a person. And
I
how
love
I
you as a
know this, this
person
is how
too.
I know this. Right? This is how I know it. And I think like relationships should start this way and understand this. Um, we had a what do you call it? A miscommunication. That's what I'm gonna call it. Through text message in a training session, right? And you got mad at me, and then you wouldn't respond to me, and I text you and I apologize, right? This is the truth, right? We didn't like be nasty, and
Oh
you just
my
told me how
God.
you felt, and then
Yes.
I explained to you, like, if I look at my phone right now, it's not making an excuse, but I think I have 215 unread messages. So what happened was I like You said I don't treat people like that, and we went through this whole thing. And so what the solution was is Denise got pinned on my phone, so she comes in the top, like, so I always see her messages, right? Because and and this is just growth, like with a person. Like I respect her. I wasn't intentionally like, and this is how a relationship should be. And we're not in a relationship; we're just friends. But
Right.
this is like steps in a relationship. Okay, what can I do to fix it? Because I do have problems with texting everybody, not just her, like the whole world. And so I said, okay, I pin you. And have I been much better?
Yes, you have. I applaud you for that. Yes.
But these are growing pains. Now, we could have never talked again. We could have got attitudes with each other, but I think there was a mutual respect. So we were able to. She was able to express herself when she calmed down. Cause don't get it twisted, yo. This girl fight. She got some hands and the whole nine. So I was a little shook. Like, oh shoot, I hope she don't come at me in no crazy way. So I have a
No.
question. So I have a whole bunch of
Yes.
questions.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know which one. I had some on the book. All right. So, how do you think your upbringing, like as a woman, and how your dad and mother, or like, and the audience, I don't know, like, explain your family dynamics, and then explain how that affected you moving forward in a relationship with a man.
Absolutely. So I love my father. My father, I was daddy's here, but he was never around ever. He was always working, trying to provide for the family. It was a big family. We didn't grow up with money. We grew up in the Bronx, in the projects, So, my dad was never around, but my mom was, and unfortunately, when I was young, I was molested, right? So, and my mom knew I was getting molested. She just kind of like turned her head to it. I think a lot of it had to do with embarrassment, or just being afraid to do something about it. Um, so with regards to, I think I had that abuse, and then my mom. I love my mom to death. We talk. I love her. She made me I am the way that I am today because of how I grew up, right? I guess in a way, it's weird, but I seeing her, like, she was very tough with us. So we would get hit. Obviously, back in the days, you got hit with the belt, you got hit with hangers. I don't know about anybody else, but I got hit with hangers, whether it was a wire, whatever they found, they would. That's how my mom was. So I think growing up in a household where there was abuse and I dealt with sexual abuse and physical abuse, growing up. There were times I didn't even want to go home, to be honest with you, because I was scared to go home. So I think a lot of that, you know, the first relationship I was in was abusive. The first boyfriend, because after my father passed away, so long story. So I ended up homeless for a couple months, and the guy that took me in and helped me and was there for me, I thought he cared about me. So again, he was very nice in the beginning. They're always nice in the beginning. So he took me in, and he was very abusive. And then my ex-husband, but in the beginning, they're always so nice. And I think just growing up in such a rough home, my dad was never home. I never got to see my mom and dad, how they really interact. I know my dad ran, like, he was the boss of the house, but he was never home. And I know it was very strict. And again, I grew up with so much abuse that sometimes, especially with my last relationship, my marriage, I felt that when he was doing things in the beginning, it was like, I'm just being submissive. I'm just being a good wife. I'm just doing what he's telling me to do. That's what a woman is supposed to do. So with my background, I grew up thinking that I'm just supposed to be a certain type of way because that's what I grew up seeing in a way. I'm supposed to be a good woman, a submissive, a old school. So when he talked down to me, even though I never saw my dad talk down to my mom, he was never really around. But I think throughout all of the abuse and stuff, I felt like I was just like, okay, honey, I'm sorry, honey. Everything was okay, honey. I'm sorry, honey. I still to this day have an issue. You know that I got my 90-day review at work, and my boss told me the only thing that I have to say about you is that you say you're sorry too much. Okay, sorry. But I'm working on that. But that's just how it was. So I think just growing up with all the abuse really played into, like, just wanting to feel loved, or just, I saw my father was such a good man, and I think I always somehow in a way also want, like, I want a good man. I see my father, put him up in a pedestal, such a great man, provided, took care of the family, was loyal to the family, and I feel like I yearned for that maybe or looked for that, but in the wrong places, and what I thought was love really wasn't love. Just the desperation to feel love, somebody to love you and take care of you. So yeah, I don't know.
So that's a lot to take in.
Mm.
And I've heard this story before, and it's still like a lot to take in and absorb. So a follow-up question and from that is, when did you really realize in both relationships, like what was the point where you said, know what, this is not what I want to be in and I need to go? Like what was that turning point? And when that turning point happened, how long did it take you to get out of that relationship or those
Oh,
relationships? Because it was two.
yeah. Well, the first relationship was very physically abusive. If I didn't get out of there, he was gonna kill me. His mom was the one that was like, she came up to me. She's a little old lady. I won't say her name, but she's little lady. And she came up to me. She was like, "Mama, you gotta leave my son. She's like, he's gonna kill you," because she knew what he was doing. So she was like, if you don't leave him,
Mm,
he's gonna kill you. So she actually helped me um set up a time and a date when he was working to try to leave. The first time he caught me leaving, um, and he woke me really bad. I never forget that. I can tell you detail what happened. And then so we tried again. We waited weeks, and then the second time she helped me again. But I think had it not been for her to tell me, "Mama, you're too good. He's gonna kill you," like I had her in a sense where she was the one person that really. And then I had friends like I had my friend who passed away, and she came and got me. The first time she didn't get there on time, he got there first, so that's how I couldn't leave because he ended up showing up before she did, and that was bad. But the second time she did show up on time, and I was able to get out. But again, it was his mom. Um, and I'm glad I had to escape. I left the state. I went to New York because I was afraid of for my life, to be honest with you. And then the second one, you know, I stood with him because I had kids for so long. I stood with him because I thought it was the right thing to do. I felt like if I stood, he's the father of the kids. I didn't want my kids to grow up as a statistic without their dad. And so many things that had been thrown at me that I thought I was doing the right thing for my kids and not realizing that I was actually harming them and doing worse. But it wasn't actually until one day we were going home from practice. My kids did sports, you know that, Joaquin, because you know me. But my kids did sports, wrestling and judo. And I remember one time we were on our way home from a practice, and we were just sitting outside the building, and we were all crying because he was in a bad mood that day, really bad mood. And he had gotten worse and physical. He had took my son and messed him up. Like, he was getting worse. And my kids were like, "Mom," that day, I'll never forget it. They were like, "Mom, we want you to leave Dad." And I didn't know what to do. Like, I was in shock. Because it's like, damn, you think you're doing the right thing for your kids by staying with this person, but you're really causing those kids more harm, more trauma, more PTSD, more anxiety, not realizing the harm that you're causing them because they have to see that. And they experience it also. And I didn't realize that. So I held a lot of guilt to this day for that, to be honest with you. But it was my kids that told me, "Mom, we want you to leave Dad. We don't like how he treats you. He's getting worse." And then it took me. I thought about it. I was stressed out. I was scared because he controlled my money. So it would have been the first time I had to manage my money. I made good money, but I didn't manage money, right? So I didn't know how to do that. So it took at least, I said by the end of the week, because I love my kids. The love for my kids is great. By the end of the week, I told him, "I want you to leave. I don't want to be with you." And I told him, "If you don't leave, I'm leaving with the kids." And eventually he left, but it wasn't easy. Like the fighting, the animosity, like every day I went home. There was times, even after he left, one time he showed up at the apartment. My kids were playing video games, and he showed up from behind me and told me, "You look at these kids are here." Scared me, like just kicked up on me and was like, "You look at these kids are here." And I didn't even know he was there. So it's just, so it took some time. And even years after I left, I moved almost every year after that because he would find me and I was afraid of what he would do. Like he would tell me, "Let me not catch you with somebody. Let me not catch somebody walking out your house and stuff." So it was just I moved every year just so he couldn't find us.
Mm. So when I'm listening to all this, I think about my experience, right? And I felt like I was getting arrested, like for this stuff, like for and this sounds it sounds it may not have been, but it sounds a lot worse than my experiences. Like what was the role in the cops, or you don't believe in, or like, oh, you from the Bronx, is like, snitches get stitches and all this stuff. Does that play a major role in a lot of these cases where people don't want to call the cops because they're afraid of the retaliation?
We are. Well, sometimes law enforcement, to be honest, I've seen it where they don't really do much in that situation. Sometimes they arrest both parties. I did grow up in that mentality, where you don't call the police. So I never once called the police. I think sometimes I was more afraid of the police than anything too. So I never really called the police. That's just how I grew up. And then with my last relationship, he used to get really angry and he used to say, "Call the police, because as soon as they walk through the door, I'm gonna knock him out." And he was crazy enough to do something like that. And I knew, because I know him. So I was afraid of what would happen if that happens and the kids. So I was always, yeah, for so many reasons, I never called the
Mm.
police. I just grew up like that. So, yeah. But a lot of people do call the police.
So
I've heard of people who call the police. They get, and they haven't done anything. They don't do anything, or sometimes both parties get arrested, or, I feel like there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the system. It's with the justice system. It's kind of messed up. I almost cursed.
yeah, for me, like my experience, like wasn't that way. It was like I got arrested. I called the cops. Like, I got to the point where I was like, I'm not getting arrested. I'm gonna call the cops, and I still got arrested. So it was a different experience, and I think for me it was a different experience just because I was in education and I was in a field where, like, I wasn't trying to get in trouble. Like, I really cared if I got in trouble because it would affect the rest of my life, and did for some time. So, but I guess some people, it doesn't, like, if you have a job where they don't really care, like, or don't have a job and you just living, maybe you don't care about if the police get called. Like, I don't
Well, not
see
only that, some
long
people feel
sentences.
it's also power. Power.
Okay.
Some people don't know. It depends on the police. Sometimes the men have power. Sometimes I've also I've said this story before. I said it the last time I was on Liam's podcast. Um, there I knew a guy, um, huge guy. When I tell you, the big guy, tall guy, and he was getting abused by this little tiny thing, right? And nobody believed him. He would call the police. Nobody believed him. The police would laugh at him because he's a big dude compared to this little chick. And she would go off, and because she knew that he wouldn't hit her, she would whoop him and hit him in front of the kids and stuff. And it wasn't until a sergeant in the police department that actually had gone through the same thing himself believed him finally. Then they finally did something. But they were making fun of this guy and this person and trying to, like, there's an issue with the system. I think that's what I'm saying. Like, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's great. So what is this? What is a possible solution for um? And I know we can't fix people, but the law has to do a better job with the way things are handled right now.
Yes. Well, solutions is hard. There's a lot of, I mean, it's hard to say just one possible solution, but I think bringing awareness out into the community, letting people know what's going on, who is going on, that there's help out there, is really big. Sometimes one of the reasons for the event specifically is because you never know who you're sitting next to, right? The person that's sitting next to you that looks great, happy, you would never think is going through something, may have gone through something similar, or and things like that, which is it's important to bring this awareness. The same way the guys went home and thought about it. I think it's important for if somebody does, you know, say this is happening to me, have to believe them. Don't get me wrong. You have those people that sometimes cry wolf or whatever, are not always on it, but for the majority part, there are people who actually, a lot of the people, most of the time, it's not going to be, they're not going to say, hey, I'm being abused just to say I'm being abused. It's not something most people are proud of, okay? Because for many years, I didn't even want to talk about it. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. You know, I used to look at myself in the mirror and just cry because I didn't like, I don't know. It's just like, I used to be mad at God too. I love God now. I go to church every day. I mean, I love every week. I love God. But I used to be mad because I used to think, like, how could something like this happen to somebody like me? Like, how can you, so I don't know. There's just
I
not
think it has
one
a lot to
fix.
do with just it has a lot to do with just prepping people. I know you told me one time about the 3 month rule thing with
Yes.
relationships, so I haven't forgot about that. So
I appreciate you, Liam. Thank you. Yes. So the 3 month rule, I'm gonna tell you guys what that is. What I tell my kids, what I tell Liam is, when you meet somebody, don't be rushed to get in a relationship with them. And everybody always asks, what are you looking for in a guy? What are you looking for in a girl? In a woman or in a man? What are you looking for? Don't tell them what you're looking for, because they're gonna pretend to be what you're looking for. If you really want to get to know somebody, just tell them, I want somebody who can be themselves. That's what I want, somebody who can be themselves, because then they're gonna be themselves. They're gonna let that guard down. They're gonna show you their true colors. There's a statistic out there that says that within the first 90 days, a person will show you who their true colors, who they are. So within those 90 days, you can tell if you like that person or not. And if within the 90 days you start seeing little red flags, walk away. But again, don't go telling people, oh, I want somebody who's like this, who's like that, because they're gonna pretend to be all of those. Check the box. For me, for example, I want a church man, a guy who goes to church, who loves God the way that I love God, who wants to pray with me. I'm not going to tell a guy that, because the minute I start telling a guy that, oh, I believe in God, I go to church, then you know what I'm saying? Knowing that it's all fake. He's just putting up a persona to try to get at me. So don't tell people what you're looking for. You want somebody to be themselves.
So the healing process, right? The healing process. Me personally, I'm still healing at life, and I know that I am going to be healing the rest of my life. It is a constant battle, and my domestic violence issues healing. Like we spoke upon this, and I said, when I knew the point, I knew when I was never gonna be in a physical situation or an extremely abusive situation with a female, is when I didn't care what they did no more, right? So no matter what happens, like I started taking them out of the equation. So, like, example, and these things didn't happen, but example, if a woman like spit on me, right, and I choked her, right? If that was the situation, I wouldn't talk about her spitting on me. I would just say I choked her, right? Because now I look crazy, right? But as soon as you say, "Oh, she spit on me, so I choked her," it's like almost giving an excuse for your behavior. So what I had to start doing is, I didn't care what the action was. I was like, I'm not getting in trouble. I'm not being this person, and it don't matter what someone was doing. The only thing I was gonna do was talk about what I did. And the first time I did that, I was doing it with Pat. Like, I don't know where I heard this, but I think I heard it in my sleep. So it might have been God talking to me, right? And I just started practicing it, and then I started saying to myself, like, "Yo, I'm crazy," like, because It's easy to say you do something based on somebody else's behaviors, but it's hard just to hold your behaviors boss. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yes. Yes. Um, well, nobody is perfect. We all have flaws, okay? But I think for me, like, the healing part of it is you never really heal, okay? You can work at healing. You never truly 100% heal, I want to say. You can feel like for a long time I felt I'm 100% healed, I'm good. It's been 6 years. I'm still, like, working on myself. And there's times when I'm okay. I can talk about stuff and I'm okay and I'm not crying and but then there's times when something may trigger it, or I may read something that'll trigger a past, or I may see something that'll trigger a past. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I know, there's movies out there. There's certain movies there's certain parts in a movie that I personally, I can't see because it'll give me anxiety. And so are you healed? You can say you're healed. You can work on yourself and try to be the best version of yourself going forward. It's hard to really 100% feel like, say, I'm 100% healed. But I think what helps with the trauma and everything that you've gone through is just, for me, is giving back and helping and speaking about it. And now I can help others, letting others, that helps me with regards to healing. I'm still a little traumatized, not gonna lie. I think it's one of the reasons why I'm still single, because I meet a person and they're nice in the beginning. They're always so nice in the beginning and then they change, but that's patterns that I've seen in the past. So it's kind of scary. So when I see somebody be really nice to me in the beginning, it's like, is this genuine or is this just so that they can get me, right? And trap me. So I'm still working on that. So like, it's hard for me to let people get really close to me because of stuff. So, and people give up on you. So, you know?
Yeah. You said something earlier about the church. You said, you want a man of God, and when I think of like a pure relationship, right? I don't think of the actual chase, right? My whole life I've been chasing women, but I've been chasing women for like sex. I haven't been chasing the woman. And when you have a God fearing man and a God fearing woman, and they're getting to know each other, I believe that there's a different type of getting to know each other, like that those conversations, those, like, almost like you're getting to know, like if me and Liam were to hang out for like 3 years, like as guy friends, that's the type of relationship that men and women need to have with each other. Like where it's not about me conquering you or getting you. It's about me truly getting to know you beyond the physical attributes and beyond what most, and I'm gonna say most, because most of the men I talk to, and Liam could probably agree, they're not looking for. And I'm trying to take my name out of it, right? I said weird. I'm trying to take my name out because I want to be more like Liam. They're not looking for um they want the relationship, love, but they're not going about it the right way because we've been conditioned to chase
Right.
the sexual and not chase getting to know the person.
Right.
So I think that starts with what you said about the God. I mean, in my opinion, the God fearing man and the God fearing woman together. If that's your angle. So how does
Yes.
that look to you?
And
What does the relationship build look like to you? If you're a woman right now, how do you find that perfect man to start to grow with? Oh,
I don't, first of all, I'm not going to find. It's just going to happen when it's meant to be. When God has it ready, it's going to happen.
mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to find it like that, right? It's just going to happen. And I feel like, I don't know when I'm gonna know, but I just know I want, from my perspective, a perfect relationship would be somebody maybe like, when we meet, and a good friendship. A friendship is, you want that solid foundation, because like a house, if you don't have that foundation, it's gonna crack. So you definitely need to have a good friendship and get to know the good and the ugly of that person, because like I said, nobody's perfect, right? So and just being friends is important. Getting to know each other is really important. And then from I think a lot of people get complacent too when they get in a relationship. They don't give, it's, people think it's 50-50. First of all, it's not 50-50, it's 100-100. If you're going to give 100, have that person give 100. You treat the person the way you would want them to treat you, and vice, like, I think a lot of people lose sight of that. A lot of people get comfortable once they're in a relationship, and they start treating the other person like, they start forgetting the needs. They start forgetting doing the things that they first did in the beginning. I think you have to keep that consistent throughout the relationship. If you want to be in a relationship and you want to make it last, you got to be the same way throughout. If you were doing things for your husband or your wife in the beginning of the relationship, don't stop those things. Keep doing those. Keep it exciting, like as if you're dating. You got to keep your relationship, your marriage, whatever it is in the future, no matter how many years go by, like if you're dating. Like if it's the first couple of days and you just met that person, to keep it live, to keep it spicy, to keep it going, and open communication. Your best friends is going to talk. I'm going to talk to you. I want to know everything about you, when you're having a good day, when you're bad day. I think for me also it's important that when my person, for example, whenever I do get that person, I'm that peace for that person. And I think that's important. When I meet someone, I want it to be my peace, somebody who's I can come home to and know that that person is going to be my peace in this chaotic world, not somebody who's going to add to the chaos that I already have going on out there, and vice versa. So, like, you see so many relationships nowadays, men drive home, especially men, no offense, but women too. We do it too. I do it. I did it. But we drive home, we sit in our cars for like 20 minutes, half an hour, not wanting to go inside. Like, damn, now I got to go inside. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, I want somebody that they can't wait to come home to me, look forward to come home to me, get excited. Oh, I'm about to come home. That's what I want. So I think, but that's me. I'm different. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's important. Like, I don't want somebody sitting in their car half an hour dreading to come inside to come see me. So, yeah.
That's real, and I'm gonna play a little bit of the con on some of those things, just to add some flavor to this. So when you talk about open lines of communication and honesty and all these things, and I believe that we have to know the difference. So, because you mentioned like going through the phones and who you talking to type stuff. Sometimes we see that as that. So if I'm in a relationship, and that's my boo, and I have a cell phone, and then she's like, "Oh, let me have your password. Like, let me go through your phone." And we may be looking at it as in, "Oh, they love me, and I'm being honest, and but really they're like kind of starting to control little pieces,
That's just us little by
of
little.
what
You
we're
shouldn't be going
doing.
through nobody's phone. Yeah.
Right.
If you trust that
No, no.
person
Yeah,
and you love that person, there's no thought to go through that person's stuff. You should not
I
be
know,
doing
but
that.
I'm saying, but we should not be doing that. But I've been in situations where it seems like you're just being honest and caring, but that person is really starting to control your things, like you said, control the social media, control who you're talking to, always asking you who's on the phone, who you talking to, like though. And sometimes you're thinking, oh, I'm they're being caring, but really they're being controlling. And I think
You're
sometimes there's a
right.
thin line between just caring and controlling.
You're right. And I see that,
And
especially with the younger females where they get confused. Oh, he just loves me. Or he just cares when they get jealous, really jealous for no reason or overreact for certain things. Or,
Mhm.
oh, they just love me. That's just showing how they care. No, that's just the beginning of it. Those are types of signs that you really got to look out for because it's not acceptable if somebody starts treating you like a child. They don't care about you. They're just trying to control you. And that's how you're right, 100%. Sometimes that's how it starts. Little by little, they creep it in, and then it gets worse. And then next thing you know, they're controlling your social media.
Yep. So, so we're in the relationship. We get out of the relationship. Where do we go to get help? Like, what do we do to not only get help today? Because I think a lot of people get help until, like, it's kind of like what I used to do. I used to pray until basically I felt like I was okay, and then I would stop praying. Right? I don't do that anymore, but that used to be my MO. I pray, get kind of cleared, and then I just forget to pray. Right? So what what happens when people get through or get away from the relationship? Like, how do they heal and move forward? Like,
Well,
what resources are out there for them?
there are a lot of programs, and I know specifically within the state of Connecticut, there are a lot of programs for domestic violence abuse. There's programs in every region of throughout the state of Connecticut. There's, for example, the southeastern Connecticut has Safe Futures. Hartford has Interval House and a couple others. So it depends on where you live. Yeah, Safe Futures, baby. Voices Committee, promoting the Voices Committee. I love that committee. I love the woman from that committee, Marie Kenny. I love you if you can hear this. But so yes, Safe Futures is one of them. There's programs out there that help you with housing, with hiding you if you need to be hidden and get away, with food and with your kids. There's certain places like, well, I know Safe Futures, for example, they have even places where they help out, where you can bring your pets too, because sometimes pets is the reason why you stay. Believe it or not, I've heard that happen before. But there's a lot of programs. Not only that, if you don't know where to go, you call 211. 211. Sometimes they say it helps, sometimes it doesn't. But like, just stay persistent with looking for that help. If reach out to me. Shoot, if y'all know how to get a hold of me, find me on Facebook or on LinkedIn. No, and I'll find a place if you need help. But there's a lot of help out there. One thing I will say, and I want to say this to anybody who will listen and who's listening, is if you know somebody who's going through domestic violence, who's going through abuse, and they have yet to leave that person, sometimes there's a lot of reasons why they haven't left. Sometimes they're just not ready. Sometimes there's a lot of things that you don't know about that why they haven't left. It could be a pet, it could be the kids, whatever the situation. Sometimes you get tired of telling that person, well, leave the person, and then you just don't want to be there for them no more because you feel like they're doing it to themselves. No, you don't understand what that person's going through unless you've gone through it yourself. If there's one advice I can give to people out there, is when you know somebody who's going through domestic violence, don't give up on them. No matter what happens, no matter how upset you get with them, no matter what the situation is, just make sure that when they call you, you're still there for them, no matter what. No matter whether it's the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th time, please be there for them, because you never know. That goes a long way. That goes a long way, because when somebody's getting out of this, they need, even if it's just that support or somebody to talk to. I didn't have that, so it was hard. So I always say, just be there for somebody.
Yes, that's good stuff. I think the world we live, the violent world that we live in, the World Star is not as popular as it was, but from TikTok to YouTube, it's just so much violence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think we're so desensitized as people on just the violence, and and I knew a couple, two males, and they were beating each other up, right? And they were a couple, and the domestic problem is just not male female.
Oh yeah.
And when I started reading them, so like even male female relationships have severe violence. So what I'm trying to say is that it's just not males female type problems. Like, I think the problem in domestic issues goes way beyond just like a gender thing, and it's actually people are just violent. They don't know how to
Yeah.
handle themselves. And I bring that up because some of our listeners may not be in different gender relationships. They may be in same gender relationships, and is a problem if your significant other is hitting you, or vice versa. And I think some people don't look at it like that.
Right. And sometimes it's not,
'Cause that's
again,
how
you
the guy
said it
looked at it.
earlier. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, it's not just hitting, like you said earlier in the show.
Right.
It's also like down talking, belittling you, cursing you, calling you out your name, controlling you, the way they speak to you. But yeah, and you're right. It doesn't pick a gender. It's anybody can deal with that type of issue.
Yeah, I've been going through this journey of, like, I call it my 10 laws of loving myself, right? And they're all like based on relationships. But another form of abuse to me, and it's something that I was very guilty of, because like instead of talking about something, I just shut off, right? Which I think is a extreme form of abuse. Like, we're talking about something, and then I get to the point where I don't agree or I don't like it and I don't want to express it no more, so I just stop talking. And like, that's like a form of, I want to say, what's that, like passive aggressive? Wouldn't that be considered like
Yes,
passive
passive
aggressive
aggressive.
behavior?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's one of the things that I recognize about myself is because I don't want to fight, right? But I don't know how to say the right things. And sometimes you think you say the right things, but you don't say the right things. And I think it's so complicated. And sometimes when people just in general, like I think everybody would benefit from having a mediator or a counselor just to have sometimes everyday conversations.
Or not only that, just knowing when to step back and say, you know what, right now, this conversation we have is not a good conversation. It's not conducive to what we're trying to achieve here. So I think we walk away. It's okay to say, listen, this is getting a little heated. Let's stop. Let's pause for a minute and take some space. Take that time to think about it. But I also think it's really important you treat people the way you want to be treated. Even in a relationship, you treat that person the way you want that person to treat you and stuff like that. That's really important. I just can't stress that enough. I think people lose sight of that. So many people are so, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, but what are you willing to give in return? It goes both ways. That's like I said earlier too. It's not 50-50, it's 100-100.
Mm, wow. So here's a deep question. I really want you to think about this question. What has your experience and how has your experience benefited you now?
Um,
Like how
well,
has all that bad made you a great person?
um, well, I feel like all that bad just allowed me to give back and help others, to use my, what I like to say, my testimony now to help others. It's, I feel like I'm very humbled. Um, I know what it is. I don't, everybody judge, but I'm less judgmental, right? I'm not gonna be quick to judge somebody or like, um, I'm very guarded though. I tell you though, that is the bad part. Though. I'm still guarded and I'm still working on that. That's my problem. But I feel like I can help others. I'm passionate about that now. It's benefited me in those types of ways where I now know better. If I see a sign, if I see something that's similar to what I've seen in the past, I know that that's not what I want. Um, so I think that's how it's helped me pretty much. And I'm able to help others. I love to help others and I want to see others get out of it. Like no matter what, how bad it is, there's a way out. It's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it because I had to work 3 jobs after I left because I didn't want anything. So I worked 3 jobs, 2 full times and a part time. So it's not easy, but it's doable. And if there's one thing that I do gotta say that I'm proud of, I feel like I've gotten more strength, and I believe I'm more confident. I believe in myself a lot more. I have more, you know. I walk in the street, and I'm not walking with my head down like I used to all the time. I walk with my head up high because I'm proud of the person that I am. Whereas before I didn't have that. I would always walk down. I would always look down. People always would tell me, look up. Why are you always looking down? That's just how I was. And it took me time to get out of that. So yeah.
Well, I am happy to have you in my life, and I'm extremely proud of each step. And every time you tell me something you accomplish, it's like I feel like I'm winning, and because
Mm.
you're winning.
Thank you.
If
I
you
appreciate that.
and I will tell you that I should try to tell you that every day. I'm getting better at that. I'm trying to reach out to Liam and say hi to Liam because I haven't. I treat my producer like he don't exist until it's time to do the show. So I gotta get better on that.
It's okay. I'm not
You
mad, just
forgive me?
Oh,
disappointed.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you.
No.
So
Liam, I love you.
so
Yeah, how's it going? Yeah, we're doing a talk in October or something like that, right?
Yes. So I did a proposal, and I want Liam.
Hmm.
So this is actually the thing, and I'm gonna have Joaquin do his poem, and you're gonna be one of the speakers. Actually, Liam, I was hoping you would have been the narrator. I think we spoke about that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we
But
said I was gonna be a moderator and everything, and if you wanted
yeah,
me to speak, I'll speak too. But I think moderating is what I was gonna do mostly.
yeah.
So,
I want you to do whatever
when
you
is
feel
this in
comfortable.
October?
It's in October. It's
uh,
Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I actually have a meeting
Mm.
coming up this week to discuss more about it. So it's actually going to happen, and I'm really excited. I want to start it off with you, Joaquin. And yeah, so I have it all planned out. I submitted a proposal, and just so you guys know, your names are on my proposal. that I
Great.
submitted. So
Okay. Well, I want to tell the truth, because I think it's important for men to hold themselves accountable when they've been involved with like a domestic issue, and I want to go there as a like not going there trying to hide like my past. I want to go in there to let people know that hey, like we just like you could change and you can work on these things, and it's like being an alcoholic. Like it's something that you're gonna work on for the rest of your life, but you have to put in the work.
well, yeah, because I've
Yeah.
actually
So
had
so you
men
know.
tell me well, I've had men ask me, what can we do? You know, good men that I know, just got great guys, you know, what can we do to help in the community? Because one, it takes a community to change, right? It's not just one person. Everybody needs to chip in. But I feel as if men, if you're hanging out with your guy friends and they're
Yeah. Hmm.
This has been, I think, a very important and powerful conversation, and we're bringing it to a close. And I want to ask, like, I'm gonna do this on every show, and I started it last show, and it's I want you to speak life into a young lady or a young man that's going through something. Like when I mean speak life into them, what would you say to someone who's coming out of a bad situation to rejuvenate them, to bring them back to life and let them know that it's not over? Because I believe when you come out of a domestic situation that you're fragile and you feel like no one's ever going to love you again, and that if you're a man, like when I was in my domestic situation, I was like, everybody's gonna think I'm a woman beater, and it was a difficult thing to come out and face that. What would you say to somebody on either one of those trails? You have something to add to that, Liam?
Do I have something to add to that? I think that people should be more accountable, like you were saying earlier. I think that accountability makes people grow, to be better people. I mean, I'm very accountable for all the actions I do, good or bad. It doesn't really make me a bad person or a great person. It just makes me a human being with emotions. So I think that people just need to like actually like be true to themselves and live the lives they want to live, and if they want to make bad choices, that's on them. But just don't drag good people down. So,
Well, thank you for that, Liam. And Denise, thank you for being more than a survivor. You're the light to some of those who still live in the dark. Um, to my listeners, to the listeners, not my listeners, because you're just the listeners. We'll leave you with this. If love doesn't feel safe, it's not love. This has been Shades of a Man. This has been Shades of a Man, where we unpack the pain, process healing, and pursue the truth and happiness. I'm your host, Joaquin Hauser. Until next time, protect your peace. And remember, you are worthy of real love.
Yeah. Sometimes it might rain, sometimes it might snow, sometimes you might cry, be sad, you know. What that's shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man. Shades of a man. Sometimes you might stop, sometimes you might go. You might make mistakes, but that's just how you grow. Shades of a man, baby. Shades of a man. Shades of a man.